Want to hear something crazy?
Is it super crazy or just regular crazy?
I'm just going to say it's crazy.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I want to hear it.
So this trucking company I was talking to, right? They are advertising for a dedicated run. And they didn't have a driver in their fleet already that lived near this new customer, right? Now, this is a run that goes from, I believe it's like North Carolina to like Knoxville and back or something. It's a home every day job. And then, home every weekend too.
No, it sounds like a nice run.
It is. Really nice. So, but he had to get on the bus. Now, hear this out. He had to get on the bus to go to their orientation.
Okay.
And it was going to be like a 30-some hour bus ride, right?
Okay.
So he goes, and I'm sorry, let me just go back a little bit. They offered him a plane ticket to begin with.
Okay, so
it's not like they were forcing him to get on the bus.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind, this is like probably the number one run on this company. It's a brand new run. It's a customer they've been with for a long time. He's offered this run. He hadn't worked in like 2 months. He's desperately needing a job, and he was wanting better home time than being out on the road. So now he's getting a job where he could be home every night, right?
Sounds like it's really good.
Because he's afraid to fly, which is cool because I don't like flying myself. But
That's common. Yeah, it's a common thing.
But I'll get on a plane. He was like, "No, I can't do it. I'll take the bus." So the bus is 30-some hours. It's like some kind of a 12 or 15-hour layover somewhere. And so at the last minute, he doesn't turn the job down. He makes up supposedly they said he's making up a story to not come, right? At least that's how they feel. And it was all because he didn't want to do a 30-some hour bus ride. So now he's going to end up taking an over-the-road job, right, where he's out 2-3 weeks, but he doesn't have to travel to orientation for 30-some hours. So it's like, dude, you're willing to stay out on the road for a couple weeks in a row that you don't want to even do, right? Because this other company, I guess, is going to, give him a quick ride 5 hours down the road to get his truck, but he's going to stay out on the road versus, okay, I'll hop on a bus for 30-some hours, but now I'm going to be home every day with a dedicated run with a schedule. I figured that one out.
I'm trying, and I'm having a very hard time doing that because I can't understand why he would choose a run that he came, you said he hasn't worked in 2 months because he more than likely came off the road because he didn't want to drive OTR. Right.
He came off the road and he's been looking for a job that's, like you just said, something where he'll get home a lot.
Right. Local or, dedicated or something. He had that in his pocket, but because he didn't want to sit on a bus and explore the country without having to drive to get to orientation.
If you gave me a driving job, exactly what I want, right? Home every day or home every weekend position, and it was a really good paying job, and it was the same run, and it was customer freight, I'd take a bus ride to Alaska. What the hell do I care?
Right. That's what I'm trying to figure out. This guy's got a problem. I mean, I don't want to say it in a bad way, but
yeah,
it kind of does.
I think the other thing was because there was a snowstorm that, he was going to have to go north to the orientation and then pick his truck up there and then come back. But it was like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is what the company was telling me. And I was like, so like taken back by that. So I wrote it down. As the company's telling me this, I'm like, I'm going to mention this on the podcast.
You put a lot of...
No, the reason I say that is because I remembered when I was working for Elder Light. Remember the casket company?
Yeah.
And we had hired this driver. Now listen to this story. This driver had called in for a job, and his big thing was nobody would hire him at the time. I forget why. I don't remember the reason. But Elder Light really looked it over. And guess what? They hired him.
They gave him a chance. They
said, you're hired. Everything's good to go, right? It was good money. It was good home time. And here's what the guy had told us. Again, I remember this exactly. He said, I really want to thank you guys. He said, because I am 3 mortgage payments behind. They're about to evict us. And what do they call that when they...
Like a repo?
Foreclose.
Oh, foreclose.
Foreclose on his home. He said, I really want to thank you. He said, we barely have any food in the cupboard. He said, it's that bad. He said, and I've got 2 kids. So the day he was getting his travel set up, this is why it reminded me of this other guy that I was mentioning earlier. Mm-hmm. So this guy is getting his travel set up. And he says, oh, by the way, I forgot to ask you. He said, what's the speed of your trucks? And I said to him, 68 miles an hour. He says, oh, I can't do that. Now, I thought he was kidding. He says, oh, I can't do 68. I said, you serious? He said, yeah. Right. And I wasn't even a recruiter. I think I was like the account executive when I was with Elder Light at that time. And he said, no, I will not do 68 miles an hour. I said, wait a second. You told me that you're 3 mortgage payments behind. They're about to foreclose on your house, and you have no food in the cupboard, and little Jimmy's starving. Your kids are hungry. You have nothing. He says, yeah, I know, but I will not drive 68 miles an hour. I said, but you told me that nobody will give you a chance, and we're going to give you a job. This is like, I forget how many years ago, 2 decades ago, right? And this guy, I remember specifically, he lived in Ohio. He lived like below Columbus. I remember this. And he said, I understand, but I'm still not going to drive 68 miles an hour for anybody ever. I said, well, then I want you to go back. And I said, when you see your little boy, I want you to look at him and say, F you. I said, I want you to say that to your kid, because that's what you're basically saying. Because you can't drive 68 miles an hour. You're 3 mortgage payments behind. You have no food in the cupboard. And you're telling me, because you can't drive 68 miles an hour, your kids are going to get kicked out on the street and they're going to starve. And he didn't get mad at me for saying that. He goes, honestly, I'm not going to drive 68. I don't care. He said, I will not do it. I can't do it. I said, dude, you know what? Now we won't hire you. I said, I won't even let you. I said, I'm done. I said, anybody that literally has that kind of an attitude, especially the ungratefulness, you just got a job when you couldn't get hired for a couple months. And here you are now not coming because of that. It's no different than that guy, that trucking company had told us the other day. They said that the driver, he basically was bitching all week about the bus ride, right? And they said, well, hey, here's a free plane ticket. But he was afraid to get on a plane, and he kept calling in and bitching about the bus ticket. They weren't set up with car rentals, apparently. So he ends up no-showing and not taking the job because of a bus ride. It's no different than the guy that couldn't get a job years ago with our company, right? And had starving kids and wouldn't take the job because of a truck speed. I mean, come on, guys. What the hell? Does that make sense to you?
It makes no sense to me. I mean, even when you think about it, like you said, that was like 20 years ago when more when you worked that position. So 68 for a tractor at that time would have been 75 at least now. If you're going to try and compare speeds with the so, the truck limit, the speed wasn't 70 on the interstates at that point, when you're going back that far.
Well, Indiana and Ohio weren't, but there were some states that had 70, but that's regardless. That's really not. It really makes no sense. If I could see if you were like a top driver and you can name your place to go anywhere you want, right? I could see you saying, okay, I'm not going to take a 68-mile-an-hour truck. But when you have no food in the house and you're about to be kicked out of your house,
and no one will hire you to begin with,
for you to say, nope, I ain't going to take that job because of the truck speed. I would take a truck. I would take 60 miles an hour if I was desperate.
Right. In a cab over.
You're damn right, because I have. So anyways, I just thought I'd start out with that story because it was on my mind, and I was so like unbelievably taken back by somebody's, I'd say, self-arrogance.
I was going to say arrogance, definitely.
Yeah, for you to say, I can't sacrifice my speed for, the goodness of my family. I would tell you that, and that was, like I said, 2 decades ago for that guy. I would tell you, I wonder if his wife caught on by now and said, what the hell? Not that I'm not an advocate for anybody getting a divorce ever, but at the same time, it's like, you got a guy that cares more about his truck speed than he does his family. That's ridiculous. And that's all I'm going to say.
I am so glad that you were never that arrogant, that you would, yeah, there are some jobs that you're like, no, I really don't want to do that. If I can avoid doing that, I really wouldn't want to. But if it came to you making sure that there was a roof over our heads and food on our tables, you would do any job to make sure that your family was taken care of. No matter when, even now, if there was a reason that you had to do certain things, you would still do them. But this driver that you were talking about with that, and then also who would pass up the dedicated run for 36 hours in a bus? I don't know. Him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. My big thing is, I would bet that driver is going to call that company back and say, I messed up. I should have come.
Yeah. Oh, I'm. Can I come now?
Well, the company told me, they said, they already had a giant list of drivers that wanted that run.
Mm-hmm.
He said that was not a big deal. They had, drivers that were really good drivers that qualify, and they were just going to take the next guy in line. He said, but, he was like, he just had to tell me that story because, he was thinking the same thing. That's unbelievable. Most drivers, if you could find a job where you're home every day, and on weekends, you wouldn't think the travel to orientation would stop you from going to the job. But apparently, I guess there's some guys that do take that into consideration. Anyways, I'd say let's move on.
Moving on.
Let's move on. Let's take a break, and we will be right back. Listen to our sponsors.
Attention trucking companies and truck drivers. If you need help with cash flow, we've got help on the way. Turn to Tab Bank, the bank that knows trucking. Tab Bank has been in the business of helping truck drivers and trucking companies with their cash flow needs for 25 years. It's just that simple. It's what they do. But they don't stop there. Tab Bank helps grow your business with their invoice, factoring, and banking services. What a plus that is. Before you book your next load, play it safe and contact Tab Bank to get their help with your factoring needs. Tab Bank helps determine the credit worthiness of your customers as well as billing and collection efforts on invoices that you factor with them. Let the experts at Tab Bank get you cash quickly for the loads you deliver. Again, it's what they do. Visit tabbank.com/TalkCDL to learn more. That's tabbank.com/TalkCDL. Tab Bank member FDIC.
If you're a driver looking for a new trucking job, check out NCI. NCI offers the following: new Kenworth T680s, competitive wages, solo, team, and students welcome, plus a full benefit package for you and your family. Check them out today at 888-311-7076. That's 888-7076. And tell tell them TalkCDL sent you.
Truckers, if you're in a pinch and you need parking, sign up today for free at truckparkingclub.com. They have daily and monthly rates. Landowners, if you wish to rent a few spaces, you can also sign up today for free at truckparkingclub.com.
The good news is spring is almost here. Winter. This is the time of the year that I always liked. I mean, I'm not a big fan of March, but March is almost over. And I was always a big fan because I already know in a couple weeks, to a month, most places are going to be nice dry weather. Now, North Dakota, up into those areas, when I say dry, I mean no ice and snow. Okay. But I'm just saying, like North Dakota, up in the Northwest, you're still going to have snow, in April, sometimes in May, and even later on. But for the most part, the average year, usually by the time April starts coming around, it's a lot nicer weather to drive in. And a lot of these drivers have put up with a lot of cold this year. There's some really good icy snowstorms, all across the country. And, of course, we know March, the weather blows in, up north, just like that. They can get a storm or two. But the good news is it's almost over and you guys can take a break from the icy, slick weather. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's something, they have like the little sayings. I know it's like April showers bring May flowers, and then one's roars like a lion, because it's so windy. And I'm wondering if that was March or not. But we had some definitely crazy weather this year across everywhere.
Well, yeah. Well, like I said, usually this time of the year is when I start getting a little happier because I know it isn't going to be much longer till it's warmer and better weather. And so I'm happy for the drivers too. You know what I mean? Like, they put up with a lot of crap when it comes to driving in the snow. Anyways, moving on. So, okay. This past week, I actually, a driver had called in and, he was asking me about companies that he could sign up with. He's out of Florida. And he had just graduated school. And I told him, I said, well, here's a couple companies. Just call them. I was naming some of them, one of our sponsors, even national. I said, you can call them. You can call, I guess, U.S. Express, JB Hunt, all these big companies. And just for the heck of it, see, I know a little bit about student drivers. I said to him, as long as you haven't gone already to another company and went through orientation or got hired on and then quit right away, most companies will want you to come. But companies right now are very strict in their hiring because they got an overabundance of students and there's not a lot of freight out there. So people are really fighting for jobs right now. And so he said, oh yeah, well, I had gone to, I forget which company it was, right? And he failed the pre-employment drug screen, right? And he said, well, they're telling me that I just got to get some paperwork together to get it straightened up. I said, wait, hold on a second. What are you talking about? I said, he said, but the issue is, he said, I wasn't doing drugs. He said, it's a prescription drug, pain medicine. I said, is it a narcotic? He said, yeah. I said, dude, didn't anybody in your trucking school tell you cannot be on narcotics? No trucking company, they're not going to, even if you have a doctor's excuse and you have a narcotic, unless it's a trucking company that doesn't know what they're doing, it is illegal to have narcotics in your system. I don't care if a doctor prescribes it or not. Okay? If you're on Percocet or whatever the hell he was on something like that, right? From his doctor. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, dude, you can't. He said, yeah, they want me to sign off saying I won't be on that anymore. I said, dude, do you realize it doesn't matter? You can go get signed off, but you're now in the clearinghouse. I said, when you fail a pre-employment, You go right in the clearinghouse. I said, you have to go through a SAP program now. And because he said, yeah, they want me to sign off saying I'm going to go off this. I said, well, are you going to do that? He goes, I'm not sure because I really need the pain medicine. I said, dude, you might as well. I said, you just went through a whole trucking school and you're telling me you need the pain medicine. I said, dude, you got a choice to make, trucking or your drugs. I said, that's it. Trucking or drugs, trucking or drugs. I said, you can't have them both. I said, and if you're in the clearinghouse now, I said, you might as well keep your drugs because you're not going to drive.
Yeah, you have to go through the program, but you're not going to, no one's going to hire a student that's on SAP already.
Well, absolutely correct. I 100% agree with you. Which leads me to this little bit of a thing I wanted to talk about.
You're smirking.
Well, here's I'm going to read to you. And the reason I wanted to bring that up is because this guy is on a prescribed medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Right.
Prescribed medicine. And he thought that's okay. He even brought his prescriptions with him. I guess he ran and he brought them with him for the drug test. And they drug tested him anyways.
Uh-huh.
And he's exactly, I mean, this is crazy, right? So this is an insane week. This past week, a trucker ran into a pileup and killed a bunch of people in Texas. Right. So listen to this. It says driver was on CNS depressant during 17-hour pileup that killed 5 people in Austin, Texas. It says the truck driver that involved in a fatal crash that killed 5 people was on central nervous system depressant at the time of the accident. The accident happened on Interstate 35 near Austin. It says 37-year-old truck driver Solomon Weldekeel Araya is facing multiple counts of intoxication manslaughter and assault for the crash that killed 5, including 2 young children and 11. I know what, and let me just tell you this. Let me just read a little bit more. It says, according to Fox News, a detective and member of APD impaired driving investigation unit determined that Araya was impaired by central nervous system depressants at the time of the wreck. These drugs are known to slow down signals sent between the brain and the body and are often used to treat insomnia or panic disorders. Araya was observed with droopy eyes, slow, sluggish movements, and relaxed and drowsy demeanor at the time of the crash. His vital signs also pointed to someone who was unusually calm for someone who was just involved in a fatal, massive accident. His heart rate and blood pressure were on the lower end of the normal range at the time they were taken, which investigators considered suspicious. Normally, a person involved in a collision would experience psychological conditions such as elevated heart rate and increased blood pressure, especially in a collision of this magnitude, where he killed 5 people. So, as I was reading, it says Araya told police that his brakes failed, but commercial vehicle inspectors have found no evidence of mechanical issues on the truck. So if you read on, like there's a bunch of articles I read, what they were saying, witnesses said this was already a stopped scene going on, I guess, stopped traffic. And a yellow tractor pulling an Amazon trailer never stopped. He just barreled through them, just smash, and traveled, they said, like 1/10 of a mile till he got stopped, wrecking people. Mm-hmm. And one of the vehicles had 4 people in it, like 2 kids and a mom and dad, and they were killed. And then I guess somebody else was killed. I'm not sure. They said maybe a baby or something was killed. But he killed 5, injured 11. He was on intoxication medicine. And here's the thing about it. And the reason I had brought up that previous story, because here's a guy that I was actually talking to that told me that he thought it was okay for him to be on prescribed Percocets or Vicodins or whatever the hell he's on, right? And he thought it was okay to drive a commercial vehicle, right? And now here's another guy that's on depressant medicine. Now, what do you think most trucking companies think when you show up to go to work and you're on antidepressant and depressant medicines? What do you think most of them want to do? Do they want to hire you, or do they want to say no way?
No, you're a liability to them. I looked up real quick while you're saying it. I looked up what some of these drugs were, only because I'm like, okay, CNS, depressants. What would they be? So some of them are to treat insomnia, trouble sleeping, anxiety, panic attacks, and seizures. There are barbiturates and certain sleep medicines and benzodiazepines, right? What are CNS drugs? In an overview, amphetamines, including ecstasy and I can't even pronounce it. It's so big of a long word. Methyldioxymethamphetamine. Metamiphenine. I can't even do it. So anyways, armodafinil, atomoxetine, cocaine, methylphenidate, modafinil, oxybate, and pitolisant.
But not all depressant medicines are narcotic, okay? There's plenty of them out there that are non-narcotic. And the reason I say that is because this guy had to be drug screened in order to be hired. Well, then again, he got on them after. But there are depressant medicines that are non-narcotic. And so whether his was narcotic or not, it doesn't take away from the fact that you got a guy driving 80,000 pounds that can get depressed. Now, what do you think a safety director's thinking when you're trying to hire in there? Oh, I got a guy that is depressed, and if he misses his medicine, he might do something dumb. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
Well, just the reaction time. He's sitting there saying the brakes failed. Well, the brakes failed because you probably were hitting the gas. I mean,
he didn't.
Not gas, but
he
fuel.
said the brakes failed. He lied.
I know that. That's what I'm saying. He's never mind. My mind's doing something different.
That's okay. No worries. No, but yeah, bottom line is the witnesses said he never stopped. Remember? They said this yellow truck with the Amazon trailer just came barreling right through. Never even tried to stop. That's probably when he did hit his brakes after he hit the first couple vehicles. I don't know, did he fall asleep because of the medicine? That medicine, it said, that he was on makes the brain and the body react real slow between command. Who knows? All I know is if I'm a safety director and you come to me and you say you're on some kind of antidepressant medicine, I'm not hiring you. Would you hire him?
No, I wouldn't hire him.
I am not going to give a guy, I'm sorry. And we may have guys write in going, listen, I need this medicine. It helps me stay calm. Okay, that's good. It helps you stay calm, but not in my truck. It don't, because what happens if you miss your medicine? What happens then? Because you know what? We know some people that are in our church, and we know a young man that's in his 30s or early 40s. And if he misses his medicine, he gets violent. Am I right or wrong? And his guardians that take care of him, they're the ones that have told us this, right?
Yes.
So the bottom line is, if you're out there driving and you think because you have a prescription medicine for pain or for antidepressants, for any of that stuff, right? If you feel that it's okay to be on that, okay, it's not. And I know people are going to write in, but all I'm trying to tell people is your safety directors are going to find a reason not to hire you if you are literally on something like that. I can guarantee it. And I might even have trucking companies write in and go, you shouldn't be telling people that. But it's true though. I don't care if I tell people that. I already know how they act. I talk to them all the time. And if this is what they're telling me, I'm going to tell the audience. Be careful, drivers. of what kind of prescription medicine you think you're safe taking and driving a commercial vehicle. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Ruth Ann?
You just gave me a Forrest flashback.
Forrest Gump?
Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that.
And that's all I'm going to say about that. But no, I'm just being honest. I mean...
Well, it's true. I mean, most people that use, I don't want to say their common sense, but most people will think, okay, I'm taking this type of medication and I take it for this reason. Most medications give you some form of an effect.
Absolutely.
You know, you will know whether or not, because of that medication, if you need to show your license to get the prescription filled, you're not going to be able to drive a tractor trailer with it.
Bottom line, very much. Not all prescription medicines, just because a doctor says you can be on them, it doesn't make it okay to drive a tractor trailer. And I'm just telling you guys, be careful of what you think. And if you're not sure...
Look up the classifications.
Yeah, look up the classifications because, in fact, you know what this guy told me? He goes, and I was wondering why nobody wanted to give me a chance. Well, you know, duh. And shame on the trucking school, because this guy told me also, he said that the trucking school said that's okay to just show the prescription. Well, these trucking schools should know the freaking regulations on what's allowed to be in your system and what it's not allowed to be in your system while operating 80,000-pound commercial vehicle. Shame on the trucking schools also.
No, I agree. You know what? A lot of drivers, if you are on a certain medication and you're thinking of going into the industry, call a couple trucking companies and ask them, would you hire someone on this?
Call us.
Call Troy. Or here's another one. Look it up on the FMCSA. They do have all the classifications of the narcotics, of the regular drugs, even some of your cold medicines that really you shouldn't take while driving.
Yep.
They have a whole list of all these classifications, and all you have to do is look at them and see whether or not you're able to ingest this medicine and drive a tractor trailer at the same time.
How about this one? If you gargle with Listerine every morning, be careful. If you get pulled over and he smells that and makes you blow, into the breathalyzer, you're going to fail for alcohol.
Yes.
That's a guarantee.
Yep.
Protect yourself, drivers. Don't go down the road blindly thinking that it's not a big deal because a doctor told you can have it, or because it's a product that's over the counter in Walmart. There's some things that you take will make you test positive for something, alcohol or drugs. Be careful. That's all I want to say. Moving on, Ruth Ann, that's the podcast for the week. What do you got for us? You got a word of the day?
I do.
You do? Hey, I wanted to ask you, and you could just say yes or no. Have we heard anything about the Ice Pick Bandit lately? I know we've been in and out so much in the last 4 to 6 weeks. I know he's still out there.
He's still out there, and haven't heard anything recently. The last thing that I know of is that he hit, I think it was outside of Tennessee, somewhere in Tennessee, he hit about 18 tractors, and that was the last that...
I still don't understand how somebody could come into a truck stop or onto an off-ramp and whack 2, 3, 4, 5, 18-wheelers and flatten most of their tires and not be seen and get away with it. That's just amazing.
Well, what really got a lot of these drivers is this guy was determined enough, because if I remember correctly, a storm was going on. I don't remember if it was snow or if it was just rain, because I'm trying to remember. But I know there was something going on, because they said they were surprised someone would be out in the weather when this was going on. So I'll see if I could try and find anything else up recent, but I'm pretty positive that in the last, let's see, we're in mid-March, probably close to 6 weeks, there hasn't been much mention.
Okay. What's the word of the day?
Piffling.
Give it to me again.
Piffling.
Piffling?
Piffling. Piffling. Piffling.
And this is, by the way, this is word of the day by Word Genius.
Mm-hmm.
It's free to get the word yourself if you want to sign up. Is free and get smarter like Ruth Ann and I have been getting for quite a long time. We plug these people for free because we think it's pretty cool to put that on the podcast. Go ahead, Ruth Ann. What does piffling mean?
Trivial. Unimportant.
Really?
Dora felt disappointed to have worked so hard for such a piffling amount of pay.
So okay. So it means what?
Unimportant.
Unimportant. I like that part because
Trivial.
if somebody, I like the unimportant part. If somebody's annoying you with something, you could just say, piffling. Piff, piff.
That's so piffling.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's pretty cool. Thank you for that word of the day. I want to thank you. You've been bringing us the word of the day for quite a long time. You've been making a lot of people smarter.
I try. I don't want to have that stigmatism on a truck driver saying that they're nothing but a steering wheel holder. You have a brain. You have knowledge. Go for it.
We're out of here.
Peace.
Peace. Praise the Lord.